Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that actually gave us victory. Now due to this reason, this treaty will be broken and there will be fighting amongst these two groups. Now we know for the Dajjal to happen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give victory over the people of Ar-Rum. Now somebody had asked me what exactly Ar-Rum is referring to. Ar-Rum is generally, let's say if somebody was telling you Rum, generally somebody from the western side of the continent, let's say Europe. So there's generally a concept that is found in a lot of the hadith. So whenever you hear this word Rum, sometimes you may hear Banu Asfar also. Banu Asfar is actually like yellow. But whenever you hear these words, it is referring to, let's say, somebody from the western side of the world. If you hear the word Ahmar sometimes, or if you hear the word they usually don't use the word Abyad, like white. Sometimes brown, somebody of a brown skin is not really called brown. So certain things, inshallah ta'ala, will cover, but today we'll talk about few things, and one of the first things we'll talk about is the 10 signs that will happen before the end of time itself. And I'll specifically mention what is that one sign the scholars specifically said this is basically the end of time. Not only a major sign, but it is actually indicating towards the end of the time. Inshallah ta'ala, I'll read it in Arabic. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he tells, now one of the Sahaba, he mentioned, اطلع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم علينا ونحن نتذاكر فقال. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam suddenly came upon the Sahaba and they were talking about something. What were they talking about? And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, on approaching them, he tells them, ماذا تذاكرون? What are you discussing with each other? قالوا نذكر الساعة. So they mentioned that they're talking about the hour. قال إنها لن تكون حتى ترون قبلها عشر آيات. That the hour will not be established until there are 10 signs that will happen. Obviously there may be way more, but there are specifically 10 signs that the Prophet ﷺ is mentioning. What is the first one? فَذَكَرَ الدُّخَانِ, referring to the smoke. The second one, الدَّجَّالِ. The third one he mentions is الدَّابَّةِ, which is referring to the beast. Generally people refer to animals. Humans are generally not referred to as dabba. This is another one. The other one is طُلُوعُ الشَّمْسِ, rising of the sun, min al-maghrib, from the west. Obviously nowadays what we have is exactly the opposite. وَنُزُولُ عِيسَى بْنِ مَرْيَمَ, and coming of Isa alayhi salam. Now Isa alayhi salam will not come until Dajjal is already there. The next one is Ya'juj wa Ma'juj. Gog and Magog in biblical terms, ثَلَاثَةُ خُسُوف, 3 major earthquakes. One of them is going to be in the west, one of them is going to be in the east, one of them is going to be Jaziratul Arab, in the Arabian Peninsula. And the last one that he mentions is نَارٌ تَخْرُجُ مِنَ الْيَمَنِ تَطْرُدُ النَّاسِ إِلَى مَحْشَرِهِمْ. There is going to be a fire that is going to be driving the people of Yemen out to the place of this gathering. Now, this is one of the indications that the scholars they mentioned, this is going to be the indication of the end of the times. That the end of the times is almost there. It is very, very close. So inshallah ta'ala, one of the things I want to mention is today we'll go in detail with specifically, let's say, with 2 topics. One is Dajjal itself. How do you know what are the sifat, what are the ahadith that actually talk about him? How do you recognize him? And is there anybody that challenges Dajjal? Now just to give a little bit of a recap, I mentioned that he will dissipate when he sees Isa alayhi salam, but Isa alayhi salam specifically kills him with his, where is that coming on mind? What? It's like a spear, but he kills him with his own hand. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kills, Isa alayhi salam kills Dajjal with his own hand to show that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he gives him victory. Now, today, were there other people that challenged Dajjal? Inshallah ta'ala we'll cover. But today, to start off, we'll start off with the first 10 signs of the Day of Judgment. Now, having mentioned this, now one thing we have to understand that, let's say we start with the topic of Ya'juj and Ma'juj. This will only happen for two things before have to occur. That is, the Mahdi has to be there. Once the Mahdi is there, it has to happen. What has to happen next is the coming of Dajjal. After the coming of Dajjal, it is going to be Isa alayhi salam. So these four, the scholars, they generally have an idea of the tartib, the general arrangement. They know that Mahdi will not wait until Isa alayhi salam comes. The Mahdi will already be there when Isa alayhi salam is descending down, and he will pray behind Mahdi. This is to show that he is going to be following the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we know that for sure. When it comes to the other things, let's say when it comes to Ya'juj and Ma'juj,